Can you hear me? Okay. Get this on? Yep. Can you hear me now? We good? I think we're better. All right. Good morning, everybody. I am Scott Zackheim, Associate Partner at Landmark Ventures. I run the marketing arm of our business development practice. Sex, drugs, money, and fast cars. I can't see you, but I imagine that got butts in the seats this morning. I have a couple of really smart people next to me and looking forward to getting their thoughts. Joan Gilman, Executive Vice President and COO of Time Warner Cable Media. Callum Smeaton, CEO of TV Squared. Let's turn it to you guys quickly. Would love to hear about your roles, maybe give a little background on yourselves, and then give us a sense for the advertiser and audience landscape today in the TV world, maybe against what it looked like 10 years ago. Joan, let's start with you.
Good morning, everybody. I think it's helpful for this conversation to know that first I started in the internet in 1995, selling display ads 20 years ago, and today I run the media division of Time Warner Cable, selling omni-screen solutions to about 30,000 local, regional, and national businesses that includes television and social and digital. What's different in the last 10 years in television? Consumers have a lot more choice as to where they consume TV. We have enabled them to consume it on any screen and almost anywhere, and that's really fundamentally shocked the system and really helped consumers with their personal experience in terms of where they would like to consume the best content, but it's challenged the industry when it comes to measurement.
That's a perfect segue. Callum.
Yes, hi, I'm Callum Smeaton. I'm the CEO and founder of TV Squared. My background actually is more big data and actually big data in Wall Street, so it's interesting moving into TV and just seeing where the state of the world is in media. I think, from our perspective, we look at that whole measurement problem, we look at that whole attribution problem for what the impact of TV is and how it performs and how to optimize it. So I think, for us, if you look at the change in audience, and exactly what Joan's just said, is that that whole second screen has really changed the way that people are engaging with TV, with content, with kind of just that whole response, whether it's in-app, whether it's with Facebook, whether it's with Twitter, and that I think is the big change. And using that data, and a lot of kind of what was talked about this morning in the panels around data analytics, how do you use those data points to help improve TV advertising and improve return on investment for advertisers?
Okay, so we're talking about the second screen already, but let's take a step back. As the market changes so quickly, speaking to what Shelley addressed in ads and kind of getting after people on the NBC Nightly News, is traditional TV advertising dead, or is it just getting stronger?
I think it's getting stronger. I think kind of to answer that question, actually, I think you should really just look at the rise of e-commerce companies coming to TV. For years we've been talking about this fight for advertising dollars between offline and online, and yet you've got more and more e-commerce companies adding TV to their portfolio. And when you dive into that and start looking at the data that we see, we work with a number of e-commerce companies across the globe, and when they get it right, they get it really right, and they just start putting more and more money into TV advertising. So I think, and the numbers back that up. So if you look in the UK in 2010, 5 of the top 30 TV advertisers were e-commerce. In 2013, it was 15 of 30. In the US, e-commerce is growing about 40% year on year in terms of TV advertising. So how come these digitally native advertisers, who are really good at digital advertising, are using TV? So I think that answers your question.
I'd love to talk about shape shifting. What do I see right now? We have probably the highest quality TV content that we've ever had. It's available on more channels. There is more data than we've ever had to determine whether the context of the show or the context of the place it's consumed or the device it's consumed enables you to improve the effectiveness of that marketing. And I caution that be careful about definitions. We do a lot of careful research, but I will point to just my children, whether they are consuming How to Train Your Dragon in the movie theater, on the big screen that's connected to the cable box, on the iPad where they're watching Netflix, or on the TV attached to the Roku box, all in my home, they're consuming How to Train Your Dragon. So they have chosen to spend their time is fixed, doing that, and then it's the challenge of the brands that produce How to Train Your Dragon and the networks that aggregate those brands to figure out which advertising is going to really perform in that environment. And I think that's what makes this a really dynamic time.
So let me just follow up on that. There's a lot of distraction. I imagine, the proliferation of the second screen, the third screen, looking forward to what the fourth screen looks like in my living room. Aren't folks really distracted? How do you elicit a real call to action through an advertisement if you're just doing so many things at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big challenge right now. You can see a lot of brands and advertisers struggling with that. And I think, the second screen, the engagement is so high. I think if you look at brand advertisers, then more and more people experimenting how they actually get them to engage via Twitter, via Facebook, and how do you change your call to actions if you used to have call to actions for brand advertisers, but you're getting responses. So what do you do with that? I think obviously for the traditional response and direct response advertisers, they're struggling from that move from telephone to web. So how do you do that? So yeah, I think you're just going to see more and more experimentation around how to get people to engage with your brand.
I think there's some really interesting points there. I think, first of all, what people often forget, and I like to say, the millennials are not, they're not called millennials. We shouldn't call them millennials. We should call them the cable generation or the broadband generation. They are the generation that's consumed the most TV in their lifetime and the most ads in their lifetime. So when you actually think about breaking through, realize the people that you're trying to break through to have seen more ads in their lifetime. Their threshold for quality is a lot higher. So you're not just dealing with, you're dealing with two paradigms. You're dealing with how to find them, how to follow them, how to reach them, that's all one, how to reach them where they're consuming media, but you're also dealing with an audience that really knows what quality. They're filtering out, not paying attention to the low quality ads. They've seen enough and they have really, really good judgment. So it's as much about raising the quality of the messaging, and if you interview and understand millennials well, don't hard sell. So you really have to understand where the creative has to evolve to keep up with a generation that's extremely well-versed in what they like and what they don't like.
And I also think that's, kind of going back to the data stuff that we talked about today, I think, the world of creative needs to kind of step up with that and use that data to understand exactly how to see that response and react to it. And I think, if you look at the digital world and everything that happens, just even on your website using multivariate A/B testing to where to push the kind of free trial button and all that sort of stuff, we're not doing that in creative. So I think that needs to change as well.
So that's a good segue. When a millennial, someone like myself, has the computer up in front of the TV, hear something, think about something, throw it into Google. Google wants to take all the credit for it. SEM, SEO, AdWords. How do you look at Google in terms of, they're doing all sorts of television advertising. I think the number is nearly close to $500 million over the last 3 years. So clearly they see something in television, but they want to tell you that really everything comes through them. Should they be getting all the credit for someone like myself throwing something into Google, or can TV still drive activity?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all done it. Yeah, you watch TV advert, you've got your iPad, your iPhone, and you type in the brand name, page comes up, you click on whatever the first link that you see that's got the brand name. You don't care whether it's paid or organic search, but you go still get that click at that point. What happens behind the scenes, and we see this all the time, is that you've got two teams then in the background. You've got the digital team who want to claim all that credit, and you've got the TV team who want to claim the credit, and they have these massive bun fights trying to actually claim the credit and, more importantly, claim budget. So yeah, I think it's a real problem. I mean, definitely TV drives search and then drives response through to the advertisers.
Google's a very big company with lots of divisions, so which part of Google? If you're specifically talking about search, well, let me back up. 2 points on this. First, if you look at any of the available third-party data, most of the large Silicon Valley companies are spending the majority of their marketing budgets on getting consumers to discover their brand on television. It's easily documented. It's not hearsay. TV is a wonderful place to discover new brands and to break through. But two, any really good marketer, and I know half the room probably has a really solid foundation in marketing, By the time you're going to do a search for something, you already have been influenced by that brand. So Google is not actually helping you discover whether your passion to go to the Bahamas or Hawaii, right, is coming through Google. You have been influenced by friends, you've been influenced by television, you've been influenced by things you've read. Now you actually are making a decision to go and do a little bit of comparison. So they're playing a very vital role in search and comparison, but it's further down the marketing funnel. And if you know why it's helpful, it's the yellow pages on steroids. You're already making a decision. So really good marketers know you can't just do Google. Google's probably 10%, 15% of someone's decision to buy a Mercedes versus a Lexus. Someone's decision to go to a high-end Club Med or to a really nice Ritz-Carlton. Okay, so it's because that's emotional, and Google search is not an emotional interaction.
Yeah, and we've seen this as well. I mean, we've seen companies that came off TV, 2, 3, 4 years ago because they thought Google was driving everything, so they moved all their budget that way. And then lo and behold, they've had to come back to TV to drive the traffic up again. So yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge, is actually working out where it came from, and Joan's absolutely right.
I'd love to add one other thing. Because we have 30,000 clients, and in a given market we might have 75 to 100 auto dealers. Some of them are 5 pages deep in Google. Some of them are 4 pages deep. Some of them are 3 pages deep, right? So TV, they sit there and think, I have to break through because I'm trying to get the consumer to think of me first. So part of the challenge with Google is navigation, because you can't put 50 car dealers on page 1. You have to put 1. Well, then the rest of them have to turn to other media to break through. So if you really think about being the competitive leader in a marketplace, you're going to look for media that sets you apart and isn't a me too, and you're not buried.
Great. We have a couple of minutes left. I want to change gears for a second. There was some big news that came out of the HBO shop last week, and going over the top. Joan, we'd love to get your perspective on what that might look like in affecting the rest of the landscape.
Well, I will first say that what is great about the industry that we're in, the entertainment industry, the media industry, is there's constant innovation. HBO has always led in trying something new. So they were one of the first to partner with us to do TV everywhere, launching HBO Go on the Android and iPad devices. That company thinks like an innovator, and if they've made a strategic decision that they need to go in this direction, I applaud them for taking the risk. I really do think that most of the companies I work with in this industry are constantly thinking about the consumer and making sure the consumer can interact with their brand in the ways that make it easier for the consumer to enjoy their content, consume that content. And choice is very important as one of those options. So they're continuing to innovate with the consumer front and center, and we absolutely believe that a service that the cable companies are providing in terms of packaging is also a very valuable product and service for the consumer. If you just add it up in terms of time spent, it's 50 cents an hour to watch television. That's going to start to be that is meaningful for consumers that consume a lot of TV. It is a value proposition, and it'll continue to be a very important way for consumers to receive HBO.
That's great. I was going to ask for parting shots, but I think you got a great one right there. We're out of time. But Callum, Joan, thank you so much. Look forward to continuing this conversation.